Employee setup. For an employee to get paid, their details need to be added to QuickBooks Payroll. In this section, Carol is going to set up the detail of Damien's new employee, James Knight. When it comes to adding an employee into QuickBooks Payroll, there are two methods: manually entering the employee's details completely or using the employee self-setup, where only the name and email details are entered and then the employee is requested to complete the rest of the details. Carol will be entering all of James' details manually. So from the Employees button, we are then taken into the Payroll Centre. From the right-hand side, choose Add Employee. This will take us into a wizard where we're entering all the information that we need, where I will enter it in. Once entered in, this is what it looks like. I do want to show you, however, the residential address because this self-populates. So once I start typing in 29 Browns Road, Clayton, Victoria, this is where you choose the actual address because it pre-fills itself. And there you have it. Now, this is the self-service that I mentioned to you before. So if you do want to send this out to the employee to complete himself, you just turn on the self-service employee and they can enter in their details and they'll also be able to view their pay slips, manage their personal details and apply for leave. But we'll be using the other method and we'll take a look at that later. Let's click Next. I'll choose No. And I'll complete this particular area as well. As you can see, I've completed most of the details, but what I did want to explain to you is please ensure that you are using the correct pay schedule. As we did go through schedules, we had set up the director wages, ad hoc weekly and weekly. So make sure you choose the correct pay schedule because he will come up automatically with all his details already pre-filled. We're not going to use timesheets in this case. He is full-time, not casual. And I showed you how to set up permanent ordinary hours as well as it already had the overtime set up. Now, I'm going to choose no loading, but if you do have a permanent leave that you're after with loading, just remember to choose the correct leave. Now, this is where his wages will be set up from this particular information. So I'm going to say that he earns $27.50 per hour and normally works 38 hours per week. As you can see, it's set up from 7.6 as we had set that up in the original settings. Click Next, and here is where we add in the details for his account number, his superannuation fund. Now, his super details will self-populate. So all you need to do is enter in the particular super fund and it will come up automatically for you. So I'll just start typing in CBUS, even though CBUS is here. That way you can see what happens, and we'll click Search. CBUS comes up automatically. Choose it. The member number has to be added in, so let's just choose a member number. Let's click Next. And this is where you add in the tax file declaration, and we'll just choose 111111111 as we don't have his tax file number yet. Doesn't have a previous surname. Now, this is where you claim the tax-free threshold. So if you have an employee that does not claim the tax-free threshold, that's where you'll just unselect that box. And you can go through the list if they have an STL debt, seasonal worker, and the date that they actually signed the tax file number declaration. And you can also lodge the tax file declaration electronically with the ATO if you want to. And I'm not going to at this stage, and I'll click Done. Now that employee is now set up. So let's click on Home. And there you have it. Now I just want to show you really quickly, if we go into James Knight, his card, this will show you all the different details for James. So if you do want to complete a few more details, such as the emergency contacts, check the tax file number declaration. This is where we end up setting up the opening balances, as I mentioned in a prior session. If he has any leave outstanding, so if he was a employee and the client was setting up a brand new file, this is where you would set up his leave balances and earnings deductions, etc. If he has any pay run defaults, this is where his pay run defaults sit. As you can see, we said $27.50 an hour, 38 hours at 7.6. You can add in a job title and just check that all the other information is correct. Pay rates. Now, as we said, permanent ordinary hours at $20.750. Make sure this is selected because it will always come up in the pay run. If I just scroll down, this is where you will find if he has a bonus, you just select that to come up each week. If he's casual ordinary hours, just remember that with the casual ordinary hours, the hourly rate needs to be entered 25% less than what he's getting, because what will happen here is with QuickBooks Online Payroll, it will add in automatically the 25% loading. So if I just say he's earning $25 an hour, you can see that will quickly grow to $31.25 because that includes the loading. So if you just watch the hourly rate that you put in, because this is where it will automatically top up the actual loading on top of that hourly rate. So just watch that if you do have any casuals, and I'm just going to click save. So all you need to do is just make sure you go down the list, making sure that everything is correct for that employee, and that's all you need to do when setting up an employee. Now you can see that there is a reminder that James has started and we're still waiting for the tax file number. So it will let you know if there's any issues with any particular employees. So now that Carol has successfully added James as a new employee, she's completed each section in full, the payroll for James can now be processed. If James has been using timesheets, Carol would have sent a brief email to explain how he could enter in his timesheets via the WorkZone app, which is covered in greater detail in the Payroll Fundamentals course. Carol is now ready to complete a pay run for James.